Welcome to CEO Insights. I'm Marilyn de Guzman with investingnews.com. I'm speaking with Jordan Trimble, President and CEO of Skyharbor Resources, with some updates on the company's work programs at its uranium exploration projects in Canada. Good to have you, Jordan.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great. So let's start our conversation with just an overview of Skyharbor Resources and what you would say is your biggest value proposition.
Sure. So Skyharbor Resources is a high-grade uranium exploration and prospect generator business. Been around for just over 10 years. We've built up what is now, by acreage, the third largest mineral tenure holding in northern Saskatchewan in what's called the Athabasca Basin, which is the highest grade depository of uranium in the world. We have 29 properties scattered throughout the basin, over 1.4 million acres. And these projects range from earlier stage, more grassroots properties, to more advanced stage exploration assets that either host uranium, small uranium deposits, and or have high-grade multi-percent uranium or U3O8 in previous drilling. Now, we have a very multifaceted business model in that we are focused on advancing and exploring at our core projects, primarily our two co-flagship Russell and Moore Lake projects, which we've had some significant news flow on in the recent days and weeks. But we also act as a prospect generator, so we bring in partner companies to advance our secondary and tertiary projects. And within that prospect generator business, we have 7 current partners. 3 of those are joint venture partners. The other 4 are still actively earning in under option agreements. And of all 7 of those complete their option agreements, the remaining 4 in particular, we could see upwards of $80 million in combined project consideration come in to Skyharbor. So that would consist of share and cash payments from the partner companies, as well as exploration funding from these partner companies, assuming that they fully complete those respective earn-ins. So I'd say our biggest value proposition, certainly one of the biggest value propositions that Skyharbor offers investors, is that we're building the company up to be a one-stop shop for high-grade uranium exploration and discovery potential in the Athabasca Basin across numerous projects with several different operators. And I really believe that in the next few years, as we continue to see the uranium price move higher, Skyharbor will offer investors not just exposure to that uranium price moving higher, but to new discoveries and resource expansion in the Athabasca Basin.
So let's focus on your 2 core projects, and you've mentioned you have some recent results from the drilling work that you've done there. But for the benefit of our investor community who may not be very familiar with these 2 projects, could you provide some overview and what makes these 2 projects compelling for you?
Yeah, so Russell and Moore Lake, as I mentioned, are our 2 primary and co-flagship projects. We've had 100% of Moore Lake now in our project portfolio for some time. We acquired or optioned the project back in 2016 from Denison Mines. Denison's a very large strategic shareholder of ours. Their president and CEO, Dave Cates, is a director of Skyharbor. They're one of 3 strategic partners we have. In addition to Rio Tinto, they're a large shareholder of Skyharbor, as well as Orano, France's largest uranium mining and nuclear fuel cycle company. We have a joint venture partnership with them at another project called Preston. But getting back to Moore and Russell, Moore Lake is a very strategic advanced stage exploration asset that's about 35,000 hectares, and adjacent to that in the southeastern quadrant of the Athabasca Basin is the Russell Lake project, which is well over 70,000 hectares. And these 2 projects collectively represent a very strategic land position wedged in between the McArthur River Mine project, owned and operated by Cameco, host to the world's largest and richest uranium deposited mine, the McArthur River Mine. So that's just to the north of the 2 projects. And to the southwest of the 2 projects is one of only 2 operating mills in the region, the Key Lake Mill, which processes the ore from the McArthur River Mine. The haulage road that connects the mine to the mill runs right up through our Russell Lake project, and there's power lines adjacent to the road. So we benefit with mining infrastructure at the projects. We also, with Russell Lake, which we are optioning and acquiring from Rio Tinto currently, we have an option to earn an initial 51% and then a 70% interest and up to 100% interest. The project also has an exploration camp that we're able to stage out of. So between the camp, the road, the power lines, our exploration and drilling costs are quite low at both Russell and Moore Lake. So we get a lot of bang for our buck relative to most other exploration companies with more remote projects in the Athabasca Basin. So outside of the strategic location and importance of the two projects, both of these assets are advanced stage exploration projects. They've had historical work in drilling. They're both host to high grade, so multi-percent U3O8 in historical drilling. And really what we're trying to do at Russell Lake currently is make new discoveries, look to be that next big discovery story in the Athabasca Basin. And we can talk a bit more about the recent news flow where we think we're in the early days of a new major discovery. And then at the adjacent Moore Lake project, it's a little more advanced stage in that it's been drilled more thoroughly. And there are several high-grade zones of uranium mineralization, including the main Maverick and the Maverick East zones, both of which are host to high-grade uranium mineralization with grades in previous drilling as high as 21% over half a meter, over 1.5 meters, and that was within 6% over 6 meters. More recently, just recently, we announced some additional high-grade drill results, which included 3 meters of over 7% U3O8. And the mineralization is relatively shallow. That's key at both projects. So at Russell Lake, most of the targets that we're drill testing are between 300 to 400 meters to the unconformity. Most of that mineralization hosted around the unconformity. And at Moore Lake, it's even shallower, between 250 and 300 meters to the unconformity.
So let's talk about that Russell Lake with exciting news drilling results that you've released recently. The high-grade mineralization at the newly discovered Fork target. Could you talk about some of the highlights of these results and how this sort of significantly impacts how you continue to advance the project moving forward?
Yeah, so the big news from the company recently, one of several news releases, was the announcement of a new discovery at the Russell Lake project. So again, we're optioning this project from Rio Tinto. We announced the option agreement back in mid-2022. We started drilling the project in early 2023. We carried out a multi-phased initial drill program in 2023, which consisted of just over 9,000 meters. And we intersected some strong zones of mineralization. But this year in this recently completed winter drill program, which consisted of approximately 5,000 meters of drilling across a couple of target areas, including this new target called the Fork Zone, we feel like we've delivered a new discovery. We're in the early days of what could be a major new discovery at the project. The first hole that we drilled at this target area that intersected the conductor of interest was had some notable high-grade mineralization in it. The drill results consisted of 2.5 meters of about 0.72%, and within that there was a 0.5 meter of 3% U3O8. Now, what's quite interesting about this, again, relatively shallow at about 340 meters, and it's also sandstone hosted, so just above the unconformity. So this is something that we haven't seen at the project, nor had previous operators over the last several decades. They hadn't seen this kind of high-grade mineralization hosted in the sandstone. And what's extra intriguing about the target itself is that it's associated with other known targets at the project, including the Grayling target area, but it was not a well-understood target, as it's basically right under the power lines and near to the road that run up through the project. So the power lines had historically interfered with some of the geophysical work and data, so there weren't conclusive drill targets in previous programs. Our geological team did a great job going through the historical data. And with the work that we did at the project last year, we were able to generate new drill targets at this newly identified target. And again, within the first few holes, we've clearly intersected something of significance. Now, it's still early days, and we're keen to get back and continue drilling there this summer. We think we have a much better handle on the geology, on the controls of the mineralization, and we are expecting additional results from this new target in which we can start building out a high-grade zone of uranium mineralization.
Right. And with Moore Lake, obviously you've just completed the drilling at Moore Lake. Can you talk about that program and the approach you took to advance that project?
Yeah, so Moore Lake, again, adjacent to Russell and benefiting from the infrastructure regionally, the road, the power lines in our camp at Russell to bring our drill costs down. Project that we've had in our portfolio for some time, and we've been actively advancing and drilling this project for the better part of the last 7 or 8 years. This is actually the first drill program that we've carried out on the project for several years. And we decided to go back into the main Maverick zone, which is host to high-grade mineralization with historical drill results, again, as high as 21% U3O8 over 1.5 meters. We decided that we were going to go in and drill several holes that were resource expansion and infill drill holes. Some of the highlight drill results from the program, as I mentioned earlier, included 7.3% over 3 meters. That was within 5 meters of 4.6% in one of the holes. And there was another hole that delivered a fairly long zone of mineralization, 11.5 meters of 1.1%, and some higher grade uranium within that. So all of the drill holes that we drilled at the main Maverick zone delivered significant intercepts of uranium, as we were expecting, and we've expanded that zone. It's relatively shallow. Again, this mineralization predominantly hosted in the sandstone right above the unconformity, lies between 260 to 280 meters. It's a very interesting high-grade zone of mineralization in the context of some of the new mining methods that are being proposed in the Athabasca Basin, and there's room for expansion, both along strike and at depth. There's another high-grade zone that we've been drilling out previously called the Maverick East Zone. We announced some of the best high-grade basement-hosted mineralization at that Maverick East Zone several years ago. That was an intercept of 2 meters of about 6.8% U3O8. So there's these high-grade lenses or pods of mineralization along strike on this 4.7 kilometer long conductive corridor called the Maverick Corridor. It's open along strike, and it's open at depth into the underlying basement rocks where not as much drilling has been carried out. So a very exciting project. Again, one of the core projects in our portfolio, and on both Russell and Moore Lake, I think it's important to note the plans going forward. So we've just wrapped up the winter phase of drilling, which consisted of about 5,000 meters at Russell, combined at Russell, and just under 3,000 meters of drilling combined at Moore. We have plans for a similar sized program or campaign this summer and fall, about 7,000 to 8,000 meters of drilling. We're fully funded and fully permitted for all of that drilling. That'll commence here this summer and take us right through the remainder of the year, generating a lot of news flow for us and our investors over the course of the remainder of the year. And the focus for that drilling, we will be carrying out a lot more drilling at this new discovery, this new target called the Fork Zone at Russell, which we discussed. We obviously believe that we're on to something potentially much larger there and need to go continue to drill it and explore there. And then we are planning to continue drilling at that Maverick corridor, in particular at the main Maverick and Maverick East zones, as we look to prove up a high-grade resource at Moore Lake.
On a high level sort of market conversation, with analysts forecasting a continuation of this uranium bull market and the rising demand, which will, lead to a supply crunch, as industry observers, have said. What role do you see Skyharbor playing in this dynamic?
Yeah, so I mean, look, as an exploration and early stage development company, I think our timing is great. We're here to find and delineate new uranium resources in what is, in my opinion, the best uranium mining district in the world, which is in northern Saskatchewan in the Athabasca Basin. Again, the highest grade depository of uranium in the world. It's also consistently ranked as a top mining district. We're poised to take advantage of this rising tide that we're seeing in the uranium market currently. We've been at it now for just over a decade. So we were there through the difficult years when most companies and most investors were not even interested in looking at uranium projects or companies. That afforded us the opportunity to build up the project portfolio at very attractive valuations. We were able to acquire projects at pennies on the dollar, and we continue to add to that portfolio. We continue to do property and project deals to build out our prospect generator business. But just to touch on the uranium market, as a uranium company, needless to say, will benefit as we see this uranium price continue to march higher. There's a major structural supply deficit that's formed over the course of the last handful of years. There's about 200 million pounds of annual demand globally, primarily for fuel in nuclear power plants and reactors. Yet we're only producing globally about 150 to 155 million pounds of primary mine supply. So there's a big structural supply deficit. For the first time pretty much ever, there is not an abundant source of secondary supplies. So that's the big difference now. The era of these secondary supplies being able to fill that supply deficit, that era is done. And so what we're seeing now is a market that's being driven higher by the underlying supply-demand fundamentals. And there's a number of other key forces at play, a big one being this east and west market bifurcation. Most uranium globally is produced in the east. So you've got Kazakhstan, which produces over 40% of global primary mine supply. You've got Russia, Uzbekistan as larger producers as well. More recently, we've seen a coup in Niger in Africa, and we're seeing the production in Niger likely not coming out west going forward. And so as we see this kind of east versus west market bifurcation, Western consumers or Western nuclear utilities are going to have to be less reliant on the Eastern suppliers or producers and have to start sourcing more material from secure, reliable Western sources. And that's where the Athabasca Basin comes in as the largest producing region and district in North America. And so again, getting back to where we fit in, Skyharbor, as an exploration, early stage development company, as well as a prospect generator, we're out there looking to find that next generation of new uranium deposits in the Athabasca Basin so that, in particular, Western utilities will have a secure supply of material going forward to fuel their nuclear reactors.
Great. Well, thanks, Jordan, for joining me today and providing us some updates on their company news, and you're sharing your insights on the uranium market.
Thank you very much.
And thanks everyone for watching. Join us again next time for another edition of CEO Insights. If you like this video, like or leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more exclusive interviews and updates.